Yeah, hey, Alex, that guy right up there, Captain John Smith, he and the settlers, they picked this site because of the water that surrounded it. Well, fast forward a few centuries, and that water may wash all of this away.
America's European history starts here, Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent settlement founded on May 13th, 1607. 104 men and boys picked the site because it was surrounded by water on three sides. 400 years later, that's what's destroying it.
Urgently threatened by a changing climate.
It's one of the National Trust for Historic Preservation's 11 most endangered historic places across the country. The James River regularly overflows the historic seawall, and heavy rains flood the archaeological sites. Over the last century, the waters around the settlement have risen by more than 1.5 feet, and it's going to keep rising, an estimated 3 more feet by the end of the century.
It's not simply the severity of single storms and coastal erosion. It is also the increasing frequency of storms.
The Jamestown Rediscovery Foundation is trying to save it. The group plans to elevate the buildings and roads, repair the seawall, and install flood berms. But it might not be enough.
We are preparing to make decisions about what we may not be able to save.
And it's not just Jamestown.
We are going to see impacts of climate change on our historic resources all across this country.
Camp NACO in Arizona, home to the Black Buffalo soldiers who served in the segregated U.S. Army after the Civil War. The Brown Chapel AME Church in Selma, Alabama, a sanctuary for civil rights marchers in 1965. Extensive termite damage forced it to close. The Minidoka World War II internment camps, where Japanese Americans were locked up. Developers want to build a wind farm on the site, which may destroy some building foundations. The National Trust says turbines can be built elsewhere.
Renewable energy or Minidoka. we can have both.
History versus progress. History versus climate change.
Preservation is not about the past. Preservation is about the better future we are building together.
There's about 5 years left to save the Jamestown site before some of the history will be lost to history.
So the group that's working hard to save this site, they know that they're facing a big challenge. Because look at the river out there. If that goes up another 3 feet over the next 100 years, it's basically going to be right where my feet are at, and you can't save all of this. And Alex, if you think back to history, all of our original sites, our historical sites, they're along rivers, they're along the oceans. So we're going to see this climate change issue impacting thousands of historic sites over and over and over again over the years. And it's going to be a big problem for all of us. And the solution is not easy, Alex.